Good morning in there, out there, out there. And boy, it's a beautiful spring day out there from in here, out here. A slurp, a Vivi. Oh my. That's the day. We'll start. Vivi, want to look out the window? Welcome to Sentimentalists. Hi, Mark. Mariana. David's back from 8 weeks of radiation. Whew. Annie's walking around. Hey, here's the thing. We didn't realize how lucky we were when we, remember how lucky we were? Huh? Remember? How lucky we were when we moved in here in October, because we didn't realize that, need some scratches. You need some scratches. We didn't realize, of course, there was all the stuff that we didn't know. We didn't know what was going to come up. And holy cow, all over the place out here, all down the trails, through the woods, fiddlehead ferns, myrtle fields, lilies and irises. It's just been so fun to be surprised. And Julie's finding something on the floor that's surprising her. I'm not sure what that is. It looks like a 9-inch railroad spike or something. What is that? Anyway, oh, you're anxious. You want to go someplace. I'm sorry. I don't want to make you not be worried. You want to be someplace else? Oh, goodness. No. One of the most wonderful ways. I'm so lucky. Start the day is watching Julie come down with Vivi, and then they appear down this path over here, and then the next thing you know, I can watch them walk around the pond on the path. What is it about the living room that's got you so attracted today? You're all up for it. Well, I think we're going to have to say goodbye to Vivi. I'm sorry. Goodness. Well, she wants to drink water, that's it. You're going to hear some slurping that you've never heard before. But you pick that up? Now that's slurping. Yeah, that's really slurping. My sister's home from Florida, from the winter in Florida, and takes about, I don't know, what, 3.5 weeks to unpack and I live in this wonderful house full of gardens all around. Ponds, 2 ponds, pond in the back, pond in the front, waterfall. But of course, when you get back, while the electricity's out and this is out and the computer's broken down and everything has to be put back together. And Julie's... I'm not enunciating very well yet this morning. Just shaking her head. What? I'm not saying. What? I'm just very lucky because I wouldn't know that. You know, I could be going and I wouldn't know it. So my director is my hero. Wow. And oh, I keep advertising the book coming out in October. It's a little early, isn't it? But they have some wonderful stuff. They're so kind. And you know, they put these books, I've told you, all around in hospitals and homeless centers and psychiatric units, and just wonderful things that they do with their books. And you can order, you can order it from your local bookstore now too, We have several bookstores around Saugatuck, Holland, and Douglas, and so you can always order. The best thing is to order through your local bookstore. That's for sure. And if they keep track of order early, then they have some sense of how many, 20, 30, 40 copies to print. Well, wait a minute, those are my relatives. 60. Oh, last weekend we went down to the Grantham Farm, which is this, I'd say it's 100 yards long, this greenhouse, all glass. It's just, to see it is remarkable. Well, that's where our dear friend and former student, Marianne Sundquist, one of the best chefs in the country, from Santa Fe, and her remarkable artist husband, nothing like what he does, Hans. The paintings were around the dining area. There were 40 some of us. And then Marianne, this is the thing, it was an 8-course meal, including the truffle. Everything okay over there? Hello? Anyway, it was but here's the key thing. We've never had probably anything like this, where there's these different courses come out and very gently lay before you, and the correct beverage. But the thing was, it can't happen again because Marianne made up every one of those. So it wasn't like we're going to have a, pasta dish with chicken or something. It wasn't like that. It was that she took all these different ingredients and then made up. And then you looked at it and you could barely think of eating it because, holy cow, it was a painting. It was like there was Hans's painting, and here was this presentation, as they call it, that was such an artwork. And then we had such a nice time with Kathleen and Mary and Kathleen's daughter, and then another couple. One was the cellist and one was the violinist with the Grand Rapids Symphony. And they've been together they have a 9-year-old and a, 20-month-year-old, something like that. And there they were. So that was fun because I don't know much more about the difference between a violin and a banjo. So it was fun to learn and blah, blah, blah. Wow. And Marianne gave me this beautiful cross pen. Why? She gave us all this wonderful meal. It wasn't a meal. Meal's a terrible word. This elegant 8-course gourmet dinner. And back in my town, this is about the time for the Strawberry Festival. Now, we'd all gather under the pavilion in the park, and there was ice cream and strawberry covered the ice cream, and it was the Strawberry Festival with everybody from the little town coming down to the pavilion to have strawberries on their ice cream. A festival. Yeah. Under the pavilion in the park. Isn't that, that's just really sweet, right? We have a kingfisher, and an osprey flew over, and we have an owl. So all these things are happening now that it's spring, that, that's the thing. Notice. Just kind of notice. The lake's beautiful. The lake, it's a pond. For me, it's a lake. It's a pond. I've been lately just remembering so many of the people who were so-called older folks, which would be even younger than I am, in my little town. And, yeah. We used to go to a little ice cream. No, I told that last week. That's right, the ice cream shop. After school. And when the new cars came out, we'd race down at at lunchtime, and get the car catalogs at the Chevy dealer and the Plymouth dealer. and look at all the new cars, because back then they didn't look alike. They were all different every year. And that's a tradition kind of thing that isn't. You know? A Lexus looks like a Toyota. I don't know. We had tonight is the big night. We're heading down to South Haven for a concert from Carrie Newcomer, and we get to be, sorry to say this, I mean, well, I'm not, I'm thrilled. Julie Meredith and I get to be guests of Carrie Newcomer at her concert. So we get to walk in and say, "Good evening, we're guests of Carrie Newcomer. So we're sure looking forward to that concert." And Jane and Larry Dickey, and Chris and Karen Clark were out last week and to teach us about solar. Because go back, maybe solar. Maybe that'd be a good thing here, Maybe, and they were wonderful. And Meredith walked in and introduced, this is Meredith, and Jane had known Meredith when she was 5, and she didn't realize, she thought it was somebody who was a guest of ours. And all of a sudden she just jumped out of her seat. "Wait a minute, you're Meredith." And it was the dearest, most fun thing to just see them hug and, "Wait, you can't, you're Meredith." Yep. So one of the things that it was wonderful also, I keep going, blah, 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 and maybe the pillow wants to talk. But anyway, one of the things, David James, who had gone through all that radiation in Houston, came out to visit. I need a slurp. Don't you need a slurp? Let's take a slurp. And it turns out he had a really wonderful time. They even went to Austin and Galveston and to go through that radiation, like 15 minutes a day, and then have the rest of the day, of course. But, you don't know. What are you going to find out? So it was wonderful to have David sitting over there, and we were back together again, old buddies. Yes, sirree, old buddies. Jim Ellis is going with us tonight down to see Carrie Newcomer. Big fan. Carrie Newcomer, Cheryl Wheeler, Eva Cassidy, Lucy Kaplinski. Who else can I remember? Oh, Kate Wolf. Anyway, I've had a request. Since that's about all the news from Lake Wobegon, except I wanted to take you on a walk. But you can take your own walk. Just notice. It's just so good, and it feels so good. We watched, and I will add this, Frank Bruni with Katie Couric last night, and it was so insightful and so affirming of what we're seeing. Frank Bruni's new book, which is about grievance, the age of grievance. And it's heartbreaking to think what's happened to us, where we used to have discussions and even arguments with each other, but we didn't have a grievance toward everything and everybody, And politicians used to say, "I said I wouldn't do politicians," but it's kind of breaking our hearts to not hear, we can do this and we can do that. We think about doing this, but instead, what most of us were taught when we were growing up, and that's not not to be mean to people, and to not lie about people, and to not, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can ruin my life. Yeah. Well, we've had a request from the wonderful poet Charlie Brice and his wonderful poet wife Judith, who's quite ill, and Charlie's been reading to her this book, Broken Symmetry, and they read a poem or two every day, and he's made 2 requests, and one is sad and one is not so sad, and I shouldn't tell you it has sense of humor, and then you go, that wasn't funny. But it's not the other way. And it's called Toys in the Attic, which is sort of a metaphor for, as you age, what your brain is. It's like an attic, you know? And as a quote by the remarkable David Myers, whose book Psychology is the best-selling book in all of history about psychology, and it's a book that students love to read. It's very readable, shall we say. And David and his wife Carol they'll be embarrassed if they ever watch this, but they have a foundation. Let's just put it that way. And oh my, the good that they've done. And I keep finding out things that they would never tell us. But what a joy for David and Carol to have had this marvelous thing happen in their lives. So that's a long intro to, there's an epigraph to the poem. The epigraph is, as you collect more and more information, your mental attic never fills, but it certainly gets cluttered. Toys in the Attic. Even if you need those green slippers, that teapot with the broken handle, or Cousin Benny's wire rims, you'll never find them. And if you want to reread the letters from the lover you met in Amsterdam, find your appointment book from your first job, or look over the scorecards from the times you cheated at golf or bridge, they're there, but you won't know where. You can look under your uncle's army uniform, behind the cracked mirror, among the hundreds of Time magazines, even sort through that tangle of earrings, belts, ties, bracelets, scarves, and frayed extension cords, but nothing will turn up. Everything's a kitten slipping under the wicker chair. What was the name of the shop that closed last summer? Was it chocolate she was allergic to? Why did they both hate the 18th century? A chickadee remembers every one of the 400 spots, its hidden seed. You would flutter into starvation. So your freezer has a dozen 6-packs of English muffins, 7 half-gallons of strawberry ice cream, and enough chicken pot pies to feed a summer camp. You have car keys in every room, lists that say things like, send birthday card to Tom, he's 72. And a notebook filled with reminders such as, don't tell the joke about the chicken and the welder anymore. Then sometimes, usually after you've weeded the flower bed, or read a chapter in the novel for the book club you think meets a week from today, you sit down, maybe with a cup of strong coffee, maybe with some wine or beer, and see yourself up in that attic, finding your puppets, your skates, and the maps you stared at for hours. Oh boy. Take care. Try to be cheerful, be kind. Vivi's knows even if. Thanks for being with me.